everyone. My name is Priya Patra and we are back again with PMI Chapter Exchange Season 2, Event 8. And today we are welcoming our very own PMI Greece chapter. And I'm very happy to say it's not only PMI Greece, but also we do also have 19 other chapters who are joining us all across the globe. And with me, I also have Pierre from South Africa chapter. He is our chapter exchange liaison, a special role that has been created for PMI chapter exchange. Pierre, are you there? Can you say hi to all? Looks like Pierre is not able to hear us. We also have Brushank from PMI Gujarat chapter. Brushank.
Hello everyone, I am Brushank Butch and I volunteer for PMI Gujarat chapter. Good to have you all today.
Yeah, thank you, Brushank, and Damike, our chapter leader from Sri Lanka.
Hi everyone, Dhammika from Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Damike. We do also have Analysts, our chapter leader from PMI Greece chapter, the spotlight chapter of this event today.
Hello everyone, I'm Manuel Papadakis from PMI Greece. Thank you so much for joining.
Over to you, Brushank, to take the session forward.
Thanks, Priya. So, welcome to PMI Chapter Exchange Season 2, Event Number 8. Today we discuss robotic process automation and project management. Today we have our PMI friends joining in from different PMI chapters: Indonesia, Gujarat, Zimbabwe, New Zealand chapter, Phoenix chapter, Czech Republic chapter, Southern Alberta, Netherlands, Sri Lanka, South Florida, United Kingdom, PMI Lima, Peru chapter, PMI Sao Paulo chapter, South Africa, PMI Kenya, PMI Ghana, PMI Poland chapter, PMI Greece chapter, and PMI Puget Sound chapter, and many supporting chapters and individuals, project management professionals across. Please say hello to each other and continue networking while we get started. Today we are excited to announce we have about 1400 plus registrations from across the globe, about 60 plus countries, from Phoenix in USA to Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and all countries and continents in between. So thank you everyone for this warm response to this initiative. Let us know where you are joining from. You can see the Menti polls on your screen, and just make sure you enter the right number and just type in which place you are coming from on this Menti link. Yeah, you can. Yeah, okay, the Menti poll link on the chat box as well. Now, a couple of working agreements. This meeting is being recorded, so if you are uncomfortable in any ways, you may choose not to attend, else you're welcome to contribute. We would love to have to be part on this session today. Please make sure your mic is on mute during this session. Your noise making devices are put on silent mode. Well, we would like to inform that everyone here is in this event are speaking in their individual capacity. Our views do not represent our organization views in any ways. Okay, so we have today with us Ramam Atmakuri. Ramam is the Executive Vice Chair at LV Prasad Eye Institute and Board of Directors at Project Management Institute Educational Foundation, PMIEF as we call. Ramam founded PMI Hyderabad Pearl City Chapter, India in 2001 and has been serving PMI for 18 years in various capacities, including being as a founder and president of PMI Pearl City Chapter, Region Mentor South Asia, and serving chapters in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, and also member of Chapter Member Advisory Group. He currently serves on the Technology Member Advisory Group and the board of PMI India. Ramam is a recipient of the coveted PMI Eric Janet Project Management Excellence Award, Outstanding Service to IT Industry Award, Outreach Visionary Award, and many other global awards. We are extremely privileged to have you here today. Now I would like to hand over to Mr. Ramam for a few words.
Hey, thank you, Prashant. You able to hear me? All
yes,
right.
we can hear you.
Hey, thank you very much for this opportunity. And it's a pleasure being here, speaking to several of my colleagues, 60 countries, 1,500. I think the PMI global organization is struggling to get so many people onto one event. So congratulations to all the organizers. I know when first Priya contacted me about 10 days back, that's the first time I heard about this initiative called Chapter Xchange program. It's very, very exciting. 20 chapters from all over the world coming together, and then and every month organizing an event that's of interest to so many people around the world. It's very, very exciting. So first, I would like to congratulate the core team that's behind this event today. So Pierre from South Africa, Yuddha from US, Arif from Indonesia, Pedro from Brazil, Dhamike from Sri Lanka, and last but not the least, Prashank and Priya. So congratulations to all of you for pulling off this great event, and thanks for the opportunity. And a good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all the friends. So today, you saw that I'm wearing the hat of PMI Education Foundation thing, not from a corporate role and all. So I'll just start, divided my talk into three parts. First, I would like to talk about a little philosophical about what we call as karma, K-A-R-M-A, it's common in Hinduism and then Buddhism and all that. I was typing karma in Google yesterday, and then I got 212 million on the search, 212 million. So it's such a big thing. Simply put, a karma is defined as an action that we do every day, that we are alive, and then all that we do every day is called as karma. So when we are in this world, then like all of you, like me, that we are benefited by several things that the nature has given or the creation has given, and several of our colleagues and people and family have given and all that. That's the reason why we are living such a wonderful life and all that. A good karma, as they call it, is just not enjoying what we got from this world, but also taking up a responsibility to give it back, a part of it, giving back to the society, giving back to the communities, giving back to the people that we work for, and things like that. So that's about talking about taking up a role that will give us an opportunity to give back something. And that's what these 6 people have done today in organizing this event. That's what our panelists will do today about robotic process automation. So it's all about learning from each other, but also learn, that's what you got, but also sharing with others so that you can give. And that would translate to what I call as joy of giving. So every one of us experience what's a joy of giving. So as per this this philosophy, the people who give more will get more. I don't know whether you'll believe it or not, but that's what I experience. And giving more and getting more is not just about from a material perspective. I donate 10 rupees and I'm $10, and then I'm waiting for tomorrow morning to get $15 and all. That's not about the karma. It's about gratitude in our heart that you gave in a very selfless way, and then just leave it there. And that's what we have done it as a responsibility to the community and all that. That brings us back to, that connects us to what several of you do from the chapters and all, from representing PMI chapters or even other professional organizations, about what we call as volunteering. I'm sure in this 1,400 to 1,500 people, almost everybody does some volunteer role and all. If you are not doing a volunteer role and all, you would not be in this event, I believe. That interest itself to participate in something like that itself is a proof that all of us care for communities, and then we think that volunteering is a bit important. And when is it exciting when to volunteer? The moment you forget that you are volunteering to help change lives, that happens when also it is changing your life. Quite often we don't recognize this, but while volunteering, it also changes us in several ways. My own volunteering experience, I work for a not-for-profit, but I also volunteer for PMI several years. I keep telling my colleagues, I learned what's known as influencing without authority through the volunteering effort only. Sometimes we have difficulty in influencing people in our teams that we pay salary for. They don't sometimes listen to us. Then think about so many volunteers would come in and then coming with very conflicting interests, all kind of things. But then you are able to influence to bring them all together to do something very unique, like this volunteer core team has done today. That's very, very exciting. So we get, although we don't recognize, but we learn a lot of nice things when we will come and then volunteering. So in volunteering, from our positions as volunteer leaders, we can only be a great ambassadors, and in this case, for a project management profession. And that brings me to connecting to what the Project Management Institute Education Foundation does. But before that, if any of us are a volunteer, so what my founder chairman of my institute says, by the way, the institute that I work for, a not-for-profit institute, not that I want to promote, but our mission is to prevent needless blindness. It's about transforming the lives of people and all that. So every day, typically, if we will see 5,500 people across our centers, more than 50% are treated free of cost. That means we just want to transform their lives and all these lot of things in rural India and all that. The founder of this, actually, that's the most important thing, tells that every one of us can share 3 T's. T. One is time. Either we can give our time, or we can give our talent, or we can give a treasure. So one or all, 2 or all of the 3 T's, if you are able to give. Remember, there's an ex-president of India called Dr. Abdul Kalam. He was a great nuclear scientist and a great man. He had a very famous quote saying that if you have not made a difference to at least one person in a day, then on that day is wasted in our life. That means at least we should strive to make a difference to at least one person every day and all. And how can we do that? It is by giving our time, or is it giving our talent? It's giving treasure. A lot of us here in this, the gentleman who would do the panel discussion today, they are giving their time, or they are also giving their talent. Several of those volunteers in this event today, I'm sure they also give their time, they give their talent and all of it. So the 3 T's are very important to be given, so that we give it back to our society and all. And that brings back to the PMI Education Foundation to tell you very briefly, because several of you are from the chapters, and this will be of interest to you. PMI Education Foundation's vision is to inspire youth to achieve their goals and then making their dreams a reality. That's the vision of PMI Education Foundation. And the mission is to enable youth to realize their potential and transform their lives through project management. So there are 3 key factors in the work that PMI Education Foundation does. First, to do any good work, then you need to identify who are your target audience. Just like in project management, the scope is very important, predefined scope. Similarly, we should know who are the audience that we are trying to serve. I mean, we cannot transform the entire world, right? We are just human and we have a limited time. So the target audience for the Education Foundation, which is a kind of a CSR arm of PMI Project Management Institute, is to transform the youth, empower them, and then change their lives, because today's youth are tomorrow's leaders. So you catch them young, transform them, and then make it good. So that's the thing. So one is about youth. But then how do we do this? If we can go, each of us can go and then teach in a school, say for a day, you have just given 8 hours, but then there are 50 students, but then that's just one small part of it. So the PMI Education Foundation partners with youth serving non-profit organizations that are got footprint all over the world. So we go to them, give them the grants, and then help them actually go and reach out to more and more students. Just to give a small number, in the last 2 years, Education Foundation has given about $2.5 million that would impact 1 million youth in 6 continents. So non-for-profit organization is one channel, but the most important channel that's of interest to all of us, and I'm sure many of this people who are in this from different chapters, they do this by about volunteering. The not-for-profit organizations also, they don't have all these capabilities to do. So we rope in the volunteers from the chapters or otherwise the PMP qualified people. They go and train the people from the non-for-profit organization, the youth serving organization. It's like a train the trainer approach. So go and help them, teach them, and then make so many teachers that they go into several schools and all of it, and then they go and then multiply the impact. And also that's about the volunteers. So not youth, non-for-profits, non-profits, youth serving non-profits, and the volunteers. Just to give a small sense of what is it, I got a compilation of like Colombo chapter just in the last quarter has registered close to 500 hours doing programs on livelihood and education. Mumbai chapter has been doing this from where Priya hails from. So Mumbai chapter has been running several of these initiatives for many years. South Africa chapter, I understand, has teamed up with University of Johannesburg and for a student competition. Netherlands chapter, 6 schools were contacted in 2021 for some planned events that are starting in September. Czech Republic is teaching project management for life in 3 different schools for 3 different classes of students. In Lima, they have planned workshops for project management skills for life. In Indonesia, the chapter has started a study group for CAPM and then supporting a project management group at a university. In Kenya, they have actually gone one step ahead. They are imparting PM skills to the Football Foundation of Africa staff. Greece, setting up PM awareness to high school students in last year. So there are a variety of activities in a different ways. The chapters and their volunteers are going and reaching the youth and then to make a bigger impact and all. And I will tell my last one, I will end this, which is my favorite. Also, just like in our business, we count about what's the return on investment for what I invested and how fast I got. A similar thing there is there also what we call as a social return on investment. And this has got 4 factors to it. And this is there in some of the PM processes. One is about an input, there's an output, a third one is an outcome, and the fourth one is an impact. So what's that ultimately the impact that we have created and all, that's what not matters. In business, we say it's not about the efforts, but the results that matter and all. Similarly, the results here is about how did we transform the lives of people in the communities. That's what finally would matter. Just to give a sense of how this can relate it, for example, one of the chapters in India called the West Bengal chapter have started an initiative to translate a project management as a life skill book to translate into a local language. So example, if 5 volunteers have come forward to do that one, so the input is 5 volunteers and they spend say 100 hours writing a book, that's about an input. What's an output? An output is that they came up with a 50-page Bengali language project management for skills book. That's an output. What's an outcome? These volunteers plus 20 others went to some 10 schools and then taught say 500 students. That's the outcome. Quite often we stop with an outcome and think, oh, I've gone there over 5 weekends and then taught 500 students and then celebrated success and then we stop. But that's not the end of it if we have to make really a transformation. Then we track all those students and then for a sustainable way, and then they are able to use all the learning in their day-to-day work and they have progressed in their community. That's a real impact. So out of those 500, if 50 of them are able to apply these skills and all that, then we have transformed the lives of 50. So I'll encourage all of you, just keep giving, enjoy the joy of giving. There's nothing more gratifying than the fun of giving what we got from this community and all that. And thank you very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramam. And you have put it so well. Volunteering can change your life. It has changed mine. And that reminds me of one word which I learned few weeks ago, volunasia. And does anyone know what volunasia is? Well, that's the moment when you forget that you are volunteering to change lives because it is changing yours. So that is, what has happened to me as well. And definitely I encourage everyone to volunteer with your local chapters to get the joy of giving. Now let's talk a little about our initiative, Chapter Exchange, which is backed by so many volunteers who work month after month tirelessly to make this collaboration a success. So what is Chapter Exchange? And I will share my screen again. Yes. So Chapter Exchange, should I say it is a global collaboration, or should I say it is a global virtual collaboration? Yes, it is a global virtual collaboration. And just to let you know, I have never met any of these chapter leaders with whom I work today, except for Manolys from PMI Greece. And that too many years ago I had met him. Else, I have never met any one of them. So it is truly virtual global collaboration that we might say. Our vision is to evangelize cross-chapter collaboration and encourage cultural diversity. As we speak today, there are 20 permanent chapters and many other supporting chapters. And that is why you will see that we are present only in these countries, the purple colored countries in the world, but we have registration, participation from more than 62 countries today. It is all about teamwork. It is about creating monthly events. Is it only about the events? Well, it is the journey of creating this event which makes it so special. It is a journey of 4 weeks that we go through in deciding what topic that we should choose, which resonates with all the chapter members. And it is about connecting, collaborating, and getting the right panelists in place just to get the diverse perspectives from all across the globe. And by doing this, we are building a community. And of course, we are sharing good practices that we have in our chapters with each other, as well as within the community and outside the community. And of course, we did grow. We grew by numbers and numbers of influence. Today, we are organizing our 15th event, considering season 1 and season 2. And we have had more than 8,000 participants. So isn't that very exciting? Yes. And consciously you will see that we onboard 2 chapters from every continent. So you won't see lots of chapters from India, but you will see chapters from all across the globe, because we truly believe that diverse connections would lead to innovative solutions. And we are just warming up. A full marathon is just ahead of us. We are sharing our stories all across the globe. We did that in Leaders Pathway Asia Pacific meeting with the Asia Pacific leaders, which is India and Asia Pacific region. In October, we will be speaking in the Global LIM as well, where we will be talking about our journey. How did we come into being and how did we make this all happen? So please do join us to cheer us up. We really appreciate all the support that you have given us, and we expect the support to continue. With this, I would take the pleasure of introducing Zanina, the president of PMI Greece chapter. And Zanina is an executive director with lots of experience in strategic planning, financial performance, business development, you name it. She is accomplished in portfolio, program, and project management. She has broad experience in leading various projects in CEE and SEE region. She has proven capability to lead high-performing teams in change management, transformational, and tactical assignments. Skilled professional in streamlining processes of customer service networks in order to improve business operational performance. So with this, Zanina, I hand over this virtual stage to you to tell us more about your chapter and why did you choose to join this program?
Okay, so thank you all, and thank you, Priya, for the kind words regarding my person. So I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Chapter Exchange team and Priya once more, in particular for organizing these first-rated events where we all gather together as the project professionals and we talk and deliberate on subjects of common interest. Today, as the president of the board of directors of the Spotlight chapter, I welcome you and I am honored to open with Priya and all the panelists this webinar. And I'm welcoming all the speakers and attendees from all the countries in a country where epic project management by the ancient Athenians created Acropolis, which is the greatest and finest sanctuary of ancient Athens. It was built during the mid-5th century BC, when Athens was the greatest cultural center of its time. And it was sponsored by Pericleus, the ruler of Athens at that time, who initiated an ambitious building, which was actually a program of projects, which lasted the entire second half of the 5th century of BC. Just to give you an idea, Parthenon was a separate project in Acropolis, which just had a project manager called Phidias, who was a sculptor, a dedicated project team, specialists from all over Greece, a specific budget, and the timeline, which was discussed with the progress status in a hill in the Assembly of Politicians. But today we're discussing the integration of human interactions with robots. Today, we're discussing together the execution of business processes, the robots doing things like humans, their ability to operate the business processes, the applications, their ability to interpret and communicate. And all these things, we are deliberating whether all these things will make us manage the projects and doing tasks with regarding to all way of thinking somewhere different. And it is true that it was like last days that I was reading that according to the World Intelligence Congress, AI and virtual personal assistants and chatbots will replace almost 69% of the manager's workload by 2024. And I'm wondering, what will this mean to customer service executives, to bookkeepers, to data entry specialists, to market analysts, and what that means to writers or psychiatrists of this world, or us, the project managers? What will mean to the project management? I do think that the project team will need to reskill, and I do think they need to adapt, and all we need to adapt to a different style of working and go through this transformation. And it's true that robots will execute all these mechanical tasks, and project managers will be provided with better data insights, machine learning algorithms that can support our schedules, and there will be visual assistants talking with each other on online communities in order for us to contribute to a better quality of the content of the deliverables. But as per my understanding and my aspiration, the project manager will always be there to communicate with all stakeholders, to deal with all those things that are not pattern changes in the schedules, and to rely on his or her critical thinking, on the empathy, on the emotional intelligence, and all these things that make us humans and make us unique and irreplaceable. And he or she, as per my understanding, Priya, will be there to lead numerous projects as a talented pool of professionals who are able these days to virtualize all these new ways of working. And as per my understanding, they have the right mindset to lead and to lead to tomorrow and to resilience. And I do read things, and I am seeing things that robots are continually learning and adapting to our environment. And I wouldn't imagine these robots that they would have envisioned Acropolis. They couldn't understand the sense and the responsiveness of the contemporary culture. and they couldn't understand what that means to the Athenians at that time. Would AI alone in this project be able to think revolutionary without the lessons learned archive, without the databases, without the organizational process assets? Will any other than the architects of Parthenon, Ictinus and Kallikratis, imagine and achieve this magnificent structural formation that it's acknowledged by everybody these days and embodies an extraordinary number of architectural refinements? All this, most probably not. And most probably, the project of the Parthenon with AI may have finished earlier with less budget. But imagine. With that being said, thank you again, Priya. And with a sense of deliberation, I'm sharing with you this event today, and I would like to wish you many, many enjoys for this wonderful conference and subject.
So thank you, Zanina. You gave me a heart attack when you said by 2024, 20% of the project managers' work will be gone. But you gave us some relief as well by saying that, yeah, robots don't have emotional intelligence. They don't have resilience. So we are still there. All right. So thank you, Zanina, for those wonderful words of wisdom.
Thank you as
with
well.
this, thank you. And with this, I will introduce the moderator of the day today, Johan. Johan Stein is an artificial intelligence enthusiast. There you go. Speaks globally at conferences on Fourth Industrial Revolution, emerging technologies. He is a 2019 award winner of Best AI and Robotics Management Consultant by Wealth and Finance magazine. He is a published author who regularly contributes articles on thought leadership to well-known publications like Business Day, the Sunday Times, and IT Web. He is the chair of the Special Interest Group on Artificial Intelligence and Robotics with IIT PSA, which is the Institute of Information Technology Professionals of South Africa. He is employed with PwC South Africa as a lead architect automation. So with this, Johan, without further delay, I hand over the virtual stage to you to take us through this futuristic discussion of robotic process automation in project management.
Thank you so very much. Hello, everyone. Welcome from, or hello from South Africa, where we are heading into spring and it's nice and warm. And if I listen to some of the countries represented in this event, you're either up very early in the morning or you're up very late at night, but it's a great honor. I also want to say to Priya and the team, you know, I speak at a lot of conferences, but just the logistics and the way you've arranged this event and the way you've interacted with the speakers, it's an exceptionally great job. So thank you so very much. Zamina, thank you for your talk and about Greek culture. I'm a big fan of ancient Greek culture, and you're right. You know, when we think of all the things that this technology can do, can it do that? Can it create? Is it really intuitive and enthusiastic and artistic? Maybe one day, maybe long after we're gone. But you're right, I don't think we should let this technology take away the wonder of life and what mankind has created. So that was a great talk that you did there. Thank you so very much. And then also to Raman, I mean, you spoke about things that's very close to my heart when it comes to doing good, societal good. And that's a topic that I often grapple about, especially when it comes to job displacements, which is an inevitable effect of smartly automating. You know, so how do we approach that in an ethical and in a responsible way? But you know, when my son is 7 and Raman and I think about his future, we think about implants and nanobots swimming in your bloodstream and all this stuff, which is kind of already almost a reality. We have to keep on speaking about it. But I appreciated your talk as well. And let's not only have a technological lens on these things. Let's make sure we do good for the future of our children. So thank you so much for that. I would love to just run through the panelists, and I'm going to call you out, and I would like for you to just in 1 minute introduce yourself to the audience, tell us where you're from and what you do, and then we'll start getting into the questions. And I would also like to encourage all of you please post questions in the question box or the chat box there. There are no stupid questions. We'll try and collate them together and try and get to all of them. But it'll be interesting to see what people are grappling with. And it'll also be interesting to see what your own experience has been with this technology. So, Johannes, let me start with you. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself, please.
Hello, Johan. Hello, everybody. My name is Yannis Vithinos. I'm coming from Greece. I am in Athens right now. Fall is starting. Not very soon, though. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. My background is as an electrical engineer. I have worked in telecommunications, both from the network side as well as from the supplier side. And over the last 15 years, I have changed direction, and now I'm fully committed to project management training and consulting. So this is my background in a nutshell.
Well, we look forward to learn from you, Johannes. Thank you so very much. Is your name a lot like John, or in my language it'd be Johannes?
Exactly, exactly.
I studied classical Greek, but it feels like it was 65 years ago. So I can still read the alphabet, but I don't know what it means anymore. But I thought when I saw your name, it looks almost like a Johannes. So fantastic. Jimmy, I'd love to hear for you. Just say hi. Tell us about yourself as well, please.
My name is Jimmy Goodall, coming from Portland, Oregon, in the United States. Yes, it's very, very early for us, really early. So I'm very excited to be here. My background, I've been working in the financial industry for more than 20 years now, financial industry and information technology. I volunteered a lot with PMI. I'm a past president of the Project Management Institute Portland chapter. Right now we have no leadership, but I'm still connected with the chapter. The robotic topic is very exciting to me because I do a lot of innovation, and my primary employer is Bank of America. So I do a lot of innovation there, and at the same time, I am finishing my doctoral studies as well on information technology that has to do with Industry 4.0. So if during my conversation you're hearing me saying those words, please forgive me. After spending a lot of time researching, they just come out of nowhere. But I'm very excited to share some of my knowledge with robotic process automation and also the project management world as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. What is the local time there?
Right now, it's 7:38 in the morning, and you will see behind me how you will experience the sunrise.
Fantastic. Somebody else who's joining us from most likely close to your same time zone, if I'm not mistaken, Roberta. Is it Argentina or South America, or unless I'm mistaken, where are you from? And tell us a bit more about yourself.
Johan, everyone for meeting. In fact, I'm from Brazil. I'm near São Paulo, in the city called Sorocaba. It's 11:40. It's near the lunch. In fact, I'm hungry for the information that I will get in this webinar. Ramans and Nina and you give so much time that I think this 1 hour is not enough to get all the information that you can share. I'm an electrical engineer. Work today in digital transformation. Kind of academic. I started with graduation, master. That was in cybersecurity. I made integration of the power system with the communication that we know as smart grid. I have the first contact with project management. Was interning in the Ericsson. Understand Now I'm the CTO of a research institute that help cities, industries, houses, and the power system pass through the digital transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roberto. Oh, just before we move on, I want to ask you maybe just to check your input volume on your microphone. It was maybe just me, but it was quite soft. But I could at least hear you.
It was
Okay.
soft, Johan. Roberto, maybe you want to put your mic a little higher.
Now?
Yes, now much better. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was just old age on my side, but I'd rather blame it on technology. The last panelist, Danusha, so lovely to see you as well. Where are you from, and tell us a bit more about yourself, please.
Thank you, John. I'm from Sri Lanka, but right now I'm not in Sri Lanka. I've been traveling. I'm right now in Luxembourg, connecting. So it's daytime. It's like 4:40 here, but in Colombo it's somewhere around 8:10 in the evening. So about me, being in technology field for 22 plus years now. I've started as an engineer, then turned myself into more of an IT professional. If you ask me what's my forte, I'm more interested in things like enterprise architecture. I used to work for organizations such as Microsoft, London Stock Exchange Group, and also worked a few other industries as a user as well as a consultant and as technology. So probably worked with both sides of the table. I'm very passionate about innovation. So hence I would have spent studying innovation at Oxford also for some time, which really got me thinking in terms of how you apply technology in innovative ways. It's not only technological innovation. When you say innovation, it's a broader topic, but here today we're going to talk about predominantly more technological innovation, how it's going to help a particular practice to optimize. So I'm very happy about being here, and also I co-founded an organization which I directed and built into a center of excellence for RPA. So we are like looking at how RPA could be optimally used across multiple industries and multiple professions. So looking forward to bring some knowledge on board. Happy to be here.
You're in Luxembourg, one of the smallest but richest countries in the world. I think there is one country that is smaller than that. Do you know what it is?
Rome?
Yeah, Vatican City. I think that's maybe the smallest country in the world.
Yeah, Vatican City.
Okay.
Actually, my hotel is just next to the airport.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you everyone for the introductions. You know what I love about these events is that people share from different lenses, different experience, and that's what makes us more complete as technology professionals. And also sometimes to hear views that you might not agree with, but it might motivate you to go and Google it and read up on it, because you say that guy was wrong or that lady was wrong, and then maybe you realize they were, or maybe you are. But I think I've learned more from webinars, attending or hosting or speaking, than I've most likely learned from any book I've ever read or any course I've ever done. So that is great. We already start seeing some of the questions coming in, and we'll definitely try and get to all of that. What I would maybe like to do, the panelists, I want to ask you, so I might call out on your name, but also if you feel you've got something specific to contribute on a question, just put up your hand. First time I use WebEx, so I assume I'll see your hand pop up. Priya, if I don't, then just help me. You are my co-pilot and the one that's really actually flying the plane, so I'm just here to greet the guests and tell everyone that there might be turbulence. So in my work, so I work with a lot of the, especially locally, but also globally, a lot of the big financial services firms and the telcos. And it seems like robotic process automation is still greatly misunderstood. I still have clients who think that RPA is the same as artificial intelligence. And then I think, have you not been reading books? I mean, how do you not know? And they say, well, what is the difference? And maybe for some of our delegates who might not know, a nice way for me that I've once heard somebody explain it is RPA is like the hands doing the work, and AI and machine learning is like the brain that's thinking. Or another way I like to explain it, RPA is like a slave. It does what we tell it to do. It does it a lot more accurate than humans. 24/7. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't go on strike. It doesn't look for holidays. It doesn't look for a pay increase. But it doesn't think and it doesn't learn. And I think more and more we see how the worlds of AI and machine learning and RPA are coming together. And you know, some call it hyper automation, some call it intelligent automation. And this world of autonomy is interesting to all of us, because how will that impact our jobs one day? And a few people have already alluded to that. So my first question really, and again, just either put up your hand like I can see it on the screen like mine or on the app, is in your work with your counterparts, your colleagues, or with your clients, do you also find that RPA is still misunderstood? And what are the kind of things you hear from people? What do people think it is? And because a lot of people fear it. I don't know who put the word bot in the phrase robotic process automation, because we think of Hollywood movies and robots. Anyone would like to go first? What is the perception out there on RPA? If there are no hands, I'm going to call people out. There you go. Let me just find my mouse quickly.
Okay.
Danuta, please, you can go.
Yeah. Completely agree. So as you rightly said, RPA is all about task automation. So we need to understand where task automation falls in. It's where your execution happens. Intelligence is where your decisioning happens, like your thinking and your structure, instructions. So if you take the body, so decisioning, insights, decisioning happening here, and then you have your eyes and your hands. So RPA is the execution part of things. And you could join RPA with other tech. For example, baseline for RPA to work is data. So if you have data in digital form, RPA can pick the data, execute. And also someone might argue RPA can't think, so, but it can have logic. Yes, it can have logic. It can have pre-configured logic. So meaning you can do an equation and it will get the data, apply, get the output, do whatever. So it's more instruction-based, logic-based. AI, on the other hand, it's like machine learning and AI. It's more like it's like human understanding, right? They're trying to copy human understanding and then decisioning, and you bring all that. But if you really look at it, if you take a human, we do all these tasks. We see things, we process things, we analyze things, and then we act. So RPA gets applied in actioning. Everything else is not RPA. But as you rightly said, hyper automation, intelligent automation, there are other scenarios that you combine tech. So when you combine tech, we call it intelligent automation. Yes, it solves more complex problems. So RPA can act alone, or RPA can act in conjunction with other tech. The other whole confusion is that using of this word called bot. So, and I think it's always good to use the term software bot because it's robotic. You use bot, but it's more like software. And I have met a lot of clients when you talk about RPA, they think it's hardware. They think it's robotics. They think it's machinery. It's like, no, it's software code sitting inside a computer, mimicking human eyes and hands, and that's it. And then you can link the rest of the assets around it to do more complex tasks. So I hope that's
a good answer. And you touch on something that hopefully we'll touch on during this time is about the perception, potentially change management, because people have a fundamentally negative view. Because exactly to your point, people see pictures of a car assembly line with these robotic arms, and they think they think this thing is going to come rolling down the aisle and sit at my desk and take my job away from me. So of course I'm going to be negative about that. Anyone else? Jimmy, Johannes, Roberto, people's perception about this technology? Jimmy?
Yes. And I believe that we pretty much define RPA in the sense of its basic form. It has to do with the automation. Now, you have a lot of businesses that really use it, but they don't really use it as RPA. Now, I'm going to make it this simple for everybody. If anybody has ever used Microsoft Excel, and there's a little feature in there that calls macros, that you can press that little red button and you can type, and then at the end of the day, you just press play and it does everything that you just did. Welcome to the world of RPA. Now, of course, we do have additional software today that pretty much take take multiple applications and repeat the same thing. So you can have a software that goes to a website and scrape whatever it's on the screen if you're looking for iPhone, if you're looking for whatever, and then put it together and send emails. So it has everything to do with doing the repetitive tasks. I have used it. I've used RPA before the word RPA started, when I was back doing type of administrative work, system admin work. But this also leads us to, how does RPA connect with project management? And there are a couple of scenarios really you can think about. When we see the project management processes that comes into initiation and planning, execution, monitoring, control, project closure, think about all the repetitive tasks that we do from a project management perspective that kind of usually take us away from really leading the project, but just doing things. If we could find a way to automate those tasks, when, for instance, when a business case is created, I don't have to copy and paste the same information in all different forms, right, and turn into a system. All those things pretty much follow down through. That is a great, I would say, usage of RPA. Now, the other component of that as well, you will find out there are a lot of projects that project managers are going to be able to lead in terms of whenever the business bring automation. We live in a digital world. So many businesses now have embraced the whole big word, big data or digital transformation. All of those projects will require somebody to sit down, to strategize, and to deliver. Now, when you're talking about innovation, most of the time that means either the company has never done it before or the company is improving. So the new projects, you're going to need somebody to sit down and think how to integrate those products into the existing process of the company. Congratulations, project managers. You're going to get to keep your jobs. Now, everything that is mundane, that repetitive, really we should embrace RPA so that we can let the mundane tasks being done and allow us to be human, which is to use our thinking capacity and make our world a better place.
That was such a good answer, Jimmy. Thank you. And I think once people understand it like that, it takes the fear out. Because who wants to work on a Sunday night at 10 to prepare a stupid report, a copy and paste like crazy for your 8 o'clock Monday morning meeting when that could be automated? And that's why I like to speak about cobotics. So working with the bots or the software in this case to help me do my job better. So it takes the conversation away from I have to fear it and I might lose my job to this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I actually can spend time on the stuff that I'm good at. And that could be leadership, it could be encouraging your team, it could be engaging with your stakeholders. So I want to ask you, Johannes, and then Roberto on that as well. The idea of the bots working with us, taking the fear away. Johannes, starting with you maybe.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you that at the moment is a case of robots supporting us. But I would like to stress that there is an assumption there that the data that we are working with are of the right quality. Because just copying, for example, the data from the report from a subcontractor to the report that I sent to my project sponsor, maybe it's not the best idea. So certainly we need to check those data first somehow. Will this be done based on some algorithm or some human mind must look at it? So a prerequisite to make my life easier as project manager is to be sure that the data I'm working with are of the right quality. And if I may add something, I'm very happy that Jimmy brought to the discussion the process groups from PMI, since we are in a PMI event anyhow, like initiating and planning, etc. I would like to move a bit further and mention those performance domains of the new PMBOK. And I would like to say that maybe at the moment, RPA is already helping us with the measurement performance domain. But if we want to look at the future, maybe next step would be not necessarily RPA, but maybe AI or machine learning will help us also with project delivery and project planning. And then maybe as a third step, I would see performance domains like stakeholders or teams being influenced. So trying to look a little bit, in the future. Thank
Fantastic. Roberto, I'm going to get to you, and after that, we'll start looking at some of the delegate questions. So what would you say on this topic?
I think this is the future. You can reject this. The technology is coming for help us. But I agree with Jimmy that it's already done years ago. With Yanis too, because the quality of data is important. For sure, and we have some projects that are running that tasks that take 80 hours that the human need to collect data from a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of systems to gather and make some reports. It takes a lot of time, but using RPA, it's taking 50 minutes. It's give you a lot of time to make it what the human can do that no bots can do, like Acropolis. Have insights, have many ideas. I think the great task that we have here with RPA is that we have a lot of time to think, analyze, and give it more quality on what we have done. Because I think with the pandemic and this all digital transformation that we have, and the digital transformation for me is coming to project management too. One of the idea that I have that we have the project management 4.0, because you have heard around the world that we have the industry 4.0, the agro 4.0, the tourism 4.0. PA is one of the pillar for the project management 4.0 because they coming, they help, but it's a task that help you to give more accuracy, get more productivity. And we have a lot of projects that we have to manage it today, but I can use the technology as a middle to help me give more accuracy insights, give more accuracy in planning, help not only me. One example, today my PMO stuck with my company, but I think it's possible in the future have for example, if I have a sponsor or another company that work with one project, why not RPA talking with all the PMOs and give you a situational awareness what's happening to understand what I can do and predict it and forecast some actions to avoid something that I would want to happen. For example, a delay or a high cost. I think the use of the RPA is good, but we have the awareness that we have to look for the quality, because not as we said, not intelligent. If that is wrong, data will be wrong on the report. But it's here to help us, and we need to understand to adapt to use it in the best way.
Absolutely. Roberto, thank you. A lot of wisdom there. I'd like to go to our first delegate question from Amit. And he says, how critical are business analysts in RPA projects? And he would appreciate it if we could elaborate. And I'm thinking, Danusha, do you maybe want to start with that one?
It's a very important and valid question. The role of a business analyst in an RPA project is very crucial, because we're talking about, as I mentioned before, we're looking at task automation. So we need to understand what happens, what kind of tasks being executed, what's the input, what's the output, what happens next, what happens prior, what's the logic, what's the condition. So there has to be an analysis of the process where you're going to apply task automation, because I'm going to bring a little bit of a technical point. In a process maturity exercise, we initially, when you take an organization, we have unstructured processes, right? People interact in ad hoc manner, data moves from one person to the other. There's a lot of tacit knowledge within people, but things get done. But when you grow the organization, so things get complicated, you need to define the sequence of tasks, you need to define SLAs, you need to have, inputs, outputs defined. So then you structure the process. And the third thing is then we automate the process, right? You use any automation tool or ERP, whatever. But what happens in task automation is within an automated flow, right, or a non-automated flow where data is digitally used, you need to understand where to apply RPA. So it's not just applying one, say RPA for one task, but it could be a multiple or series of tasks in a process. So that's where the role of BA comes into play. Understanding the process, understanding what the process does, what is expected out of the process, what are the inputs, outputs, and the sequence. And then you may not be able to apply RPA to every task inside the process. So identifying them, we call it building of a heat map. So understand where RPA can be applied, where RPA cannot be applied. And once you define that one, you can apply. Because when you do what and why before you do how, right? That's the sequence. You need to first understand what you want to do and why you want to do, and then only you talk about how. So understanding what and why is important, and that's where you need to use a business analyst to understand, set the context, and define. Then an engineer can come and do the RPA thing. So it's very important for BAs to play that role in RPA.
And what you're touching on for me is that RPA is not the answer to every problem. And I think we often have a platform or a technology-led approach. So it almost doesn't matter what the problem is, we are going to use RPA. And sometimes we can just use Excel or API calls or something like that. So it's also, that's why I often say to my clients, don't let the technology department dictate the strategy, let them support you. But what business questions or people questions or whatever are you trying to resolve? And then only start looking at the answer or the technology. So that was a really good explanation.
Sure, I can add one more point to
Certainly.
that. All these tools and technologies give us functionality, right? Those are various bundles of functionality. But for a business, meaning a business is a bundle of routines and processes. For a business, what it needs is not functionality. A business needs capability, right? So you can look at a tool and functionality and define your business capabilities, or else first you define your business capabilities that are required and then pick the tool you want. And that is where you need a BA, because you can't start with tech, because otherwise you are building a business looking at a software. No, it's not the case. First you define what's the business I want to have, what's the process, and then use the relevant tools you need. And RPA is one tool. And there's API integration. There are so many other complex scenarios that you want to bring in based on what capability you need. So we need to be very careful of this. I've seen a lot of organizations first onboard the tool, then try to think of what to do. So what they don't realize is they have first decided how before what and why.
And I think that happens a lot more than we imagine. Very true. Jimmy, I'd like to maybe point to you to answer the next question, which is from Harish. We kind of had touched on it, but it's such an important aspect of this topic. And he says, do we need to be apprehensive that machines will take over man and his intelligence with automation and machine learning? How can we as humans be at par to counter this? And again, it speaks to that perception and that relevant fear. What would you answer to that?
Yes, so the thing about the world in which I live, the answer is always yes and no. So when you think about many, I don't know how many, I guess I'm going to date myself. Back in the days when I first get introduced to the world of technology, one of the jobs that was fascinating to me was data entry. So there used to be those advertisements that says you must type 40 words per minute. So I will go to the library, try to type so I can increase, the proficiency and the accuracy of my typing. Now I have my children, they have a computer in their hands that's faster than the computer that I learned. The jobs of data entry is pretty much non-existent. So what I would say is, as we embrace emerging technologies, I'm going to give you some example. You have cloud computing that many of you now know and how to use, right? Because now we're talking about Microsoft Office. We're talking about the cloud. We have Google Drive. We have some other ones. You have mobile technologies. You have machine learning, 3D printing. All those new things, Internet of Things, RFID technologies, all those new things will require some people to install them, some people to implement them. The good news is they're not smart enough to implement themselves, correct? So what I see with RPA and other emerging technologies, they are shifting the job components. I would say they're more likely substituting than, yes, there's some jobs that's not going to last long. These days, I don't think I've seen something that's a data entry position. Why? Because we have so many ways that companies can generate data. You have business generating data, you have end user generating data, and you have machine generating data. You have structured data, non-structured data, semi-structured data. So we don't really need a human being sitting at the keyboard and trying to enter data, because there are all the ways you can generate. So those jobs are not going to come back. So those jobs now, my children don't know what that means, what those jobs are. As we get into a new generation, new jobs are going to come in. So those emerging technologies, as much as they impact some jobs, they're also creating new jobs. And that is the beauty of the human of the human component, which is the thinking. No matter what you're going to do, which is, I believe, in my world, I never really like to use the word project managers. I'm sorry, I know I'm offending a lot of people. I like to call it project leader, because we are leaders bringing people together without authority and sometimes with authority to get something done. I believe we get the word project managers because we have to manage so many mundane things, schedule here, schedule there, different style of schedule, all those jazz. But now, as we get into Industry 4.0, we are welcoming a new world. It's going to be more about analytics. So yes, you have a lot of data out there, but what's the mean of that data if you cannot have the mind behind it to really get the information that you're looking for? So that's what I see us going forward.
That last, well, all of what you said it's so true, Jimmy. That last point rings true to me in a current conversation I'm having with a fairly large mobile telco provider here in Africa. They have 60 or 70 million customers, and they have about 800 data points on each customer. So it's massive. And I always say your mobile provider knows more about you than any other provider you have, because they know where you are, they know when you wake up, they know more about you than you about yourself, most likely. But they don't always know what to do with all this data. So just having all this data that's being produced in mass these days in itself means nothing unless we know what to do with that data. But what I maybe want to ask you, Johannes, on the back of what Jimmy said and on the back of this question, if we look at where the world and where technology is going, what should program and project managers do, in your opinion, to prepare themselves for the future? Because it's almost like the sand is shifting under our feet. It is in our power when there's so much resources online to study and to earn these kind of events. What would you advise somebody who comes to you and say, I'm a project manager, I want to be relevant in 5 years or 10 years? What are those things?
I believe that the appropriate understanding at first is a key success factor. So many people, project managers included, of course, do not really understand what is meant by the new technologies. I mean, even the subject that we are talking about, as already mentioned, I mean, you hear about robotic process automation, and the mind goes to robots, which is not the case. So I would say, first of all, understand what we are talking about, and then, of course, get prepared in the sense of learning some things. Even if a project manager will not need to be an AI expert, they need to have some probably common language with people that are experts. And in the area of project management specifically, I wouldn't be too concerned about, the threat from RPA at least. In other areas, maybe, okay, there are more concerns and more valid concerns, but not necessarily in the area of project management, at least for the moment. For the moment, I see it very supportive, RPA to a project management. But a few years later on, yes, then we need to see. We need to see when planning will be done, better maybe by robots. So get prepared, learn about the new technologies, have a common language with the people that are experts in this area.
That is so true, and I agree with you. You don't have to become an expert or a machine learning expert or a AI expert, but at least know what the terms mean, because when your customer or your stakeholder starts throwing around deep learning, machine learning, RPA, IoT, intelligent OCR, because what I do is I often just stop people and say, just explain what that means to you. And I'll tell you what it means to me. And more often than not, we totally miss each other because we're just throwing these terms around. So I think a good start, to your point, Johannes, is to understand what these things mean and to be able to also maybe educate your stakeholders and say, no, that's not AI, this is RPA, and these are the main differences. So that's important. Roberto, I'd like to reach out to you for this next question. Kadakwashe, I hope I pronounce your name correct. He says robotics is such a specialized field, new as it is in the SADC, which I assume might be the Southern African Development Community. I'm not sure, but let's move on. I would like to know how we can better merge project management, maturity, and agile processing, machine learning, data analytics, dashboards, etc. So if this technology is new in a region or in an organization, how do we take this project maturity, agile, and all the smart technology and throw it together and mix it up? Any thoughts on that, Roberto?
I think we have a convergence of technology, like with, for example, data communication. It's already a long years. And I put an example for smart grid. The meter reading was made by people. So, okay, one person go in house to house to read the data, put it in the spreadsheet and paper, then come to office and put it together. Now you have the meter and the data. So I don't need this. So the evolution is occurring all the aspects, even from the data, from the sorry, missing the word. Okay, let me continue here. Agile processing, machine learning, data analytics for project management. Technology leads us to a maturity as you want to integrate all these things together. But how we can do it? So how is the best way? I think the understanding how RPA can use an agile. Agile is using a long time ago that they are changing during the way that you have program, the way that you think. The project manager started with no agile. The things change during the time because we need to deliver more things. For example, we need to deliver software in a different way to adapt the idea, the concept of project management well, it needs to change. You have the maturity that for something project we have use the older model, the standard model of project management. But when you go to software that your sponsor don't see the results, you have to adapt. So you have to learn it, or create another way to express that you're doing in the time, that you are achieving the requirements and then deliver. Same way, the technologies will help us to this more accuracy information. If we're going using this correctly and help us integrate this all technology together, because a machine learning can be used for this thing, maybe so, maybe not. You have to understand what you want, because when I talk about technology, everyone is the first one to help. Raise your hand and say, I want this. For example, here in Brazil, I have the first 5G site education. When the company comes to us, I want a 5G. Okay, but why you want 5G? The technology is available for everyone. Maybe it's not the exact time to use this technology, but before I need to understand what the technology can do for you. This is how I understand we get the maturity. We have IoT, have big data, AI, machine learning, deep learning, a lot of technology that could be used to improve project management, to give another visibility of how agile be more effective, more interactive, to follow how the squads can be more faster. But it's really necessary to use all this technology. This is how I understand it. It's the development of maturity of technology using in project management.
Okay, fantastic, Roberto. I want to, we've got about 14 minutes left in the panel discussion. It's gone so quickly. And this is really the conversation we should have over a few beers and 6 or 7 hours. Danusha, let me ask you something that I'm quite interested about. If somebody says, I want to become a project manager, now I'm sure there are various ways of studying, formal training, or going to a college, university, or informal training. But in general, would you say that current training to become a PM is sufficient when it comes to this technology that we're talking about today? Or is it lacking, would you say?
John, I think the current training gives a lot of knowledge around how projects are managed, the different types of stakeholders, actors in project management, and how you manage the interaction. Tools and techniques would come and go, and of course they keep on coming, right? So I see adequately it may not be addressed as part of the knowledge area, but what I personally believe is that it's also part and parcel of everybody, including project management professionals, to understand new technology, especially RPA. I would talk about a few things. One is automation. When I say automation, RPA is included in automation, but it's not just RPA. And also another area is data analytics, because even RPA would not work without data. The fuel to run RPA is data. So I think as project managers, we might have to go a bit of an extra mile beyond the PMBOK, right? To understand how you gather data, how you store data, how you process data, and how you create insights out of data, right? Especially when you talk about managing projects, we talk about managed by exception, if that is the case. So how you find that exception, right? So that exception could be out there in your data set. And how RP can help is to find you that exception without you having to go through multiple sets of data or reports. Say, ding, there's something, needs your attention. So project managers can actually manage by exception if you combine this. So going back to the whole story of knowledge, I think it has to improve in terms of the scope, in terms of like what tools, at least if we can prescribe, look into these areas, as additional reading and yada, 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 would be okay. But I invite the PM professionals to start focusing on, I see that because when I work in projects with clients, I see the orientation towards consuming data by project management professionals needs to improve. Sorry for saying this, but it's very important that we discuss these things. And also apprehension of some of this technology like automation. And also, Joanne, if you give me another several seconds, I also see RPA can be applicable in PM or impact project management in two ways. One is project managers knowing that RPA could be used to help them find the data, collect the data, take out that robotic work that we do as humans. As a project manager, there's a robot in you. There's a robot in everybody. So how can we take out that robot in us and palm it off to a software bot? That's one, to help you. Number two, understand how RPA can help your project, because we are eventually talking about managing scope, cost, time. Those are the three things that are the triads that we want to manage. Have we included RPA in some of these tasks? I know, in different industries, but if you take in IT industry, there's projects where you have to do master data management, you need to do cutover data uploads. There's a lot of repetitive work that we do as part of our project deliverables. How much of that can be automated for you to help, manage the projects better? So how RPA can help you as a project manager, and how RPA can help the project to better manage your scope, cost, and time. These are all practical things. So I think it's very important for project management professionals to start reading. If you're already reading, start applying it, because there's nothing like applying something you know. So I hope I answered the question, John.
That was good. You made me think of so many things. Firstly, we are robots in-fleshed, the kind of work we often do. And that's why I often tell people, don't fear this tech. It'll take the dehumanizing side of your repetitive work away and help you. But I mean, I moved to England many years ago, and my first job was a call center agent. Well, firstly, I couldn't understand anyone because I thought this is the land of Shakespeare. No one spoke proper English, for one. But I had to make my 300 or 400 calls a day. But imagine doing that year after year after year. It's dehumanizing, and we can use many other examples. Now, I think the other thing I picked up from what you said is that no matter how educated you are or how experienced you are, a process of lifelong learning will never stop, especially seeing how quickly this technology is changing. So I don't think any of us can sit back and say, I've got it. I don't really need to. You have to read every day, read, learn, speak to people. What I will want to do is just answer one or focus on one last question, and then maybe go around the panel for some concluding remarks. Let me just see, where was this question? Now, there are many questions, and I thank all the delegates for it. But there's one here by Hiranya that says, how do you calculate the ROI, or the return on investment, of your RPA deployment, and how do you measure RPA success? And why I kind of want to single out your question is because this is my day job is a lot about answering that question to clients. Because, and as I've alluded to earlier in this conversation, it seems that a lot of organizations haven't had the efficiency gains and the effectiveness gains and the cost reduction that they were promised by vendors or by technology platforms. One of the first things I often tell clients is, don't let the people advising your automation strategy be the same people who wants to sell you the bots. Because if my business model is to sell you licensing, how can you trust my advice? I'm going to sell you as many bots as I can, for one. And make sure that your vendor is invested in the outcome, not in you need 200 bots. That's not the outcome. The outcome is, I need 20% cost savings. I need 200 of my people who will be displaced, upskilled. I need change management. I need efficiencies and all those kind of things. So, but that's not me sermonizing. So, Jimmy, I would love to hear your thoughts. What is the real measurement, if there's one, there's maybe more, on a successful RPA implementation?
Yeah, so it goes, I've had several different projects, and whether I've used them and implement them as well in RPA. And for me, it all goes down, all those words goes down to big data, because that is the foundation of everything. So I like to say simple and complex. The simple one is, as a PM, on a Friday, I will go ahead and I have a VB script that I write all my reports. It collects all the data that I have from all the different software, puts everything on the SharePoint, and then send alerts to all my stakeholders. For me, that's my return on investment. I can go and coach soccer while this thing is rendering data, sending data, and people are getting email from me. Where's Jimmy? I'm right there coaching soccer while my RPA is running, right? For me, that's my return on investment. At an organizational level, I have seen that the investment is more from the PMO. So you have a project management office that have a lot of recent. I work in the financial industry, so there are some regulations that we have to keep in place. So you have all the different requirements that project managers must follow, whether to implement changes. But all those things used to take us a lot of time, a lot of documentation to fill out here, a lot of approvals to be taken there. When you put all those things in a system that streamline everything, so information is only entered once, and that information is funneled down from the initiation of the project to the closure of the project, and all those tasks in the middle are pretty much reduced from paper, emails, to everything in the system. And when you have different target, as soon as the project manager is ready, making sure all fields are filled out and press submit, all parties are notified, all parties must approve it into the system. You have a record, you have an audit trail. All those things for me is what I would call the ROI on the RPA. Now you can definitely come up with some numbers next to it, right? Because when you're talking about increased productivity, that will be the ROI, right? Because now I can do more with less. You have reduced error rate, right? Because information is entered once by the right person. I don't do copy and paste, so I'm making mistakes. You have integration with existing models within the organizations. You have scalability. That means it goes from one area of a project manager to an organization at the PMO level. You have employee satisfaction, where we follow all the rules, then I don't have to worry about audits. And of course, you have what a lot of business love to hear. It lowers the operating costs, because what you have, if you have an organization that has you have 1,000 project managers, now they don't have to spend the time doing the mundane things. They can really spend the time, manage conflict, leading people, and focus on deliverables and really capabilities for the business. I would put those and consider those of the return on investment by implementing an RPA process.
Oh, what an elaborate and wonderful answer. Because most people, especially those in the higher echelons, will say, I've saved money. And that's where it stops for them. But there's so much more. And again, for me, Jimmy, everything you've just explained also helps taking the fear away of this technology. So I want to quickly ask, and I'll call out the names as I see it on the screen, and let's keep it to 1 minute because we need to hand it back to Priya and team. But Roberto, let me maybe ask you in 1 minute, any final thoughts to the delegates?
The technology is coming. We don't have to be afraid. Like everyone say, that the base of technology is yourself. You have a habit inside us, and we need to put it outside to help us to improve it. Your activities, give us more time to spend with our family in soccer, more thoughts, insights on how to improve the quality of our deliverables, make us more, give us more empathy with the people that we are involved in the PMO. Because times task make us some like a computer. What's the deadline for your project? Is that why did you did on this? But with RPA, for example, you have more time, be more human, don't act like a robot. I think we have to use technology, making more us human and not robot, because the technology.
Such a good answer. Thank you. And let's focus on that, making work more human. Johannes, maybe 1 minute final comments from your side?
Sure. So the first message I would like to pass to our participants is that RPA is something that is here. Maybe not all people know it or realize it, but RPA is here. There are lots, for example, of commercial products that are doing RPA. So I urge our participants, to Google it and see that it is a technology that it is available. It can readily help project manager in some areas, for sure. And as a last comment, maybe as food for thought, I would suggest one very, very interesting book called Life 3 by Max Tegmark. I don't know if any one of you has read it. It's about artificial intelligence and the human. So it's very, very interesting, thinking about the future. So RPA is here. It is now. Life 3 from Max Tegmark is excellent book. Thank you.
Thank you, Janis. I'm definitely going to write that down, Life 3.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Trisha, any last thoughts? 1 minute, please, sir. When last, it's all you, sir.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Can hear you.
Jan, yes. So last couple of decades, we have, mankind, we have created more work for ourselves. And we are going to create more and more work in the future for ourselves. And what has done to us, it is all this work, repetitive, mundane, logic-based, have made us robots. We've got an opportunity to be human again. So I think it's nothing to be scared of. It's an assistant that would help you as project managers. That's what's the need for you. What's the need for you is that you get to do your work better. And what's the need for the other stakeholders is you'll end up saving a lot of time for others. You'll end up saving a lot of problems, from others. So it's a technology that all of us can use. There's nothing to be fear of. And I invite that a lot of mature use cases in terms of applying RPA. So yes, it's not about how good we are. It's about how good we want to be. And that's actually it's a book. If you can find that book and read, it's a good book. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. Thanks, John.
Thank you so much. And then lastly, Jimmy, 1 minute, any last thoughts?
Yes, so my last thought will be, so I'm biased because I've embraced technology. So what I'm about to say may be a little bit harsh, but I think it's the reality. So we have to understand history because if not, we're doomed to repeat it. History has shown us we have industry 1.0 that was all about the mechanization, the steam power, started from the beginning. You have industry 2.0 that was more about the mass production, the assembly line, and the electrical energy. You have industry 3.0 that had to do with automation, computers, and electronics. I remember when I first started school, people were scared that when the assembly line, not the hardware robotics that was doing things, they said the robot is going to take our job. Today, we're talking about cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, networks. Right now, when I wake up in the morning, my whole house is automated with lights. I can talk. I'm not going to say their name because they're going to want to talk to me if I were to say Google, if I were to say Alexa, something to that effect. So we're not going backwards. We are going forward. Alexa, stop. See their name? Is it behind, right? So things are moving forward. Things are not going backwards. What I would say is for folks to embrace technology. Don't see it more as don't fear it, but partner with it and be human. Because one thing yet technology have not been able to do is to be compassionate, is to love, is to think, is to do what we were designed as human beings, is to have companionship. Now we're using Zoom. WebEx, where we are here, bring the world together. That's a benefit. At the same time, we are missing the socialization and the after-hour party where we could have some drinks, right? So there are going to be some pros. There's going to be some cons.
good answer. Jimmy, thank you. To all our panelists, I love the different lenses. I love the honesty and the beauty with which you spoke. So thank you so much. Priya, over to you. And again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I hope it was beneficial to all the delegates.
Thank you, Johan. Lots of learnings. I would now hand over to Manolis to wrap up this session with the few key takeaways that we have got from this entire 1 hour of discussion. Manolis, are you there?
Thank you, Priya. Before wrapping up, I would like to thank all the panelists, of course, for their invaluable insights to this emerging topic. Yanis, Jimmy, Roberto, Danusa, and of course, Johan Stein, our session moderator. Let me briefly point out some key points that I have noted. So, RPA is different from AI. It is the hands that doing the work. RPA is all about task automation. RPA can be leveraged when you need to run repetitive and creative tasks, while AI is focused in a human intelligence understanding. Data in RPA are so important, and we need to make sure for their good quality. From the perspective of a business analyst, we can say that his role is very important in RPA because we need to understand what the process does. Some jobs will be eliminated from robots. Program and project managers should first understand RPA and learn the common language. RPA supports plan-driven and agile project management, of course. Project managers need to understand how RPA can help your projects and satisfy the golden triangle. Lifelong learning is vital. A successful RPA implementation can be measured from an increase in productivity, reduced error rates, customer satisfaction, and lower operating costs. Now, I would like to ask all attendees to give their feedback by scanning the QR code that they can see in the slide that Priya will share now. And of course, give their feedback through the link. I would also politely ask you to share the topics that you would like to hear on our next event through the Fun Retro board. And of course, behind the scenes are a big team. So many thanks to Tushar for his help as a WebEx admin in making this event smooth as ever. Thank you, Yuda, our chapter leader from Puget Sound chapter, for the flyers. Thanks, Kamike, for the social media post, and of course, of all our fans that attended another PMI chapter exchange event. On your screen, of course, you see the PDU. You display the written code in order to claim 1.5 PDUs. By that, I want to thank you. We want to thank you for attending the event, and I hope to see you. Have a nice rest of the day, and hope to see you in our next monthly event. That's all. Priya.
So thank you, Manolis, for those wonderful compilation of the key points, and thank you, panelists, for joining in. Johan, wonderful moderation. Jimmy, Danusha, Roberto, and Yanis, thank you so much for your time. And all attendees, like 545 plus, I saw. Thank you so much for joining in from all corners of the world. And with that, we say bye for now, and we will catch up again on October 22nd with another exciting topic. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and let's catch up again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
from me too. Bye bye. Thank you very much.